Well, I'm back, and I got another Devo for y'all, and it might not surprise you, but I got another parable, because I'm crazy about parables, and I'm crazy about Jesus. And this parable begins in Luke 10, verse 25. On one occasion, an expert in the law stood up to test Jesus. "Teacher," he asked, "what must I do to inherit eternal life?" And Jesus asks him, "What is written in the law? How do you read it?" And he replies, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself." And Jesus answers, "Well, that's correct. Go and you will do this and you will live." And the guy who asked the question, he wanted to still kind of test Jesus, so he takes the question a bit further. And he goes, "Well, who is my neighbor?" And that's a fair question to ask. And that's when Jesus begins telling the parable. And he says, "A man was going down to Jerusalem, to Jericho. When he was attacked by robbers, they stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too, a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side." So, in this part of the story, you have two really big religious or spiritual people that just completely ignore this guy. Which, to be fair, they weren't doing it for no reason, because it could have been seen as maybe unclean, dealing with a naked guy beaten up on the side of a road, or they could be putting themselves at risk to be attacked by the same people who attacked him. But in the next part is when you have a plot twist. And it says, "But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him." And that's a big deal, because the Jews and the Samaritans have kind of a rough history with each other and do not get along at all. And so if you were a Jew hearing this story, you'd be very surprised to see that a Samaritan is about to do this man some kindness. And so next it says, he went to him, bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him into an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. "Look after him," he said, "and I will return, and I will reimburse you for any extra expense you may have." So not only does he rescue him from the wilderness, he brings him into the city, feeds him, and also pays for other needs, like an inn. So he's already doing a bit more than he needs to, but he's really ensuring that this man is going to be okay. And so Jesus asks, "Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell to the hands of the robbers?" And the expert, it's like I said before, the Jews really don't like the Samaritans, so he doesn't even say the Samaritan. He says the one who showed him mercy. And so Jesus answers, "Go and do likewise." So when you look at the story from this context, it might be easy to read it like, yeah, I can be a good neighbor. But when you try to apply it to a more now context, it might be a bit more challenging, because that Samaritan may not look just like a Samaritan to us. It may be like someone who we really don't like, or maybe someone we disagree with, or maybe something political, stuff like that. And that's when we're really challenged to be good neighbors. And Jesus calls us to be this way, because not only is it reflected through what he does, but is also how we are going to inherit eternal life. I encourage y'all and challenge y'all to be good neighbors to your Samaritans, and maybe I'll do another Devo with y'all again.